Recording. Well, what you need to do is you tell her, you're like, so Shawn and I did sexting last night over Skype to see if we could do it right. She's like, well, was he into it? Yeah, kinda. Well, were you into it? Well, not at first, but he's pretty enthusiastic. His dirty talk, I mean, it is top tier. It's kind of like our podcast. We probably should have recorded it.
And record. What's up, everybody? I'm Richard.
And I'm Shawn.
And we are speaking the language of bromance.
Oh, Richard. In internet times, it's only been a week, but in RTL, RLT, in real life, IRL, it has been a minute.
That's true. It has been a minute. And he's not meaning like the figurative minute where it's like, oh, it's been a minute. Like, it's literally been 1 minute.
Yeah, 1 full minute. We were just talking to each other.
60 whole seconds. That's how long it's been.
It's been a long 60 minutes. 60 seconds.
But it felt like a lifetime.
It did. In that minute.
A figurative lifetime, not a literal lifetime.
Nope. So, Richard, how are you?
I'm lovely. And okay, so let me get this out of the way, Shawn. I am not a sports enthusiast.
That's true. Okay? You like football?
I like it, but hang on one sec.
Did you beat the dog? Oh, okay. Did you see the sign? The sign said hot mic. Daddy's doing some work right now. It's a false fifth dream, Dad.
So, Shawn, I don't know if I should tell you this, but I mean, I know this isn't news to you, but it's news to other people. I am not what you would classify as a sports enthusiast. I am not a sports fan. I'm not what you would call what is the term, man.
Yeah, you're not the one to turn on like Sports Center just randomly to have it on all day.
No.
You like football a little bit?
A little bit, but I'm going to be honest. I have not actually sat down and watched a football game in a very long time.
Well, you've been working a lot of the Super Bowls and stuff, though.
That's
so now
true.
That you're not going to be working it, you might get a chance to watch it, right?
Yeah, that's true. Oh my God, that's a good point. I didn't think about that.
So football, the last like 2 or 3 years, I've gotten into it a little bit more. Where I'll try to kick it on over like Sunday, and like I don't like invest a ton of time, but while I'm piddling around, I'll watch it. Baseball, we know I'm a big fan of. I've drug you to a couple baseball games, and you have like, touchdown.
Okay, well, so I will say that. So I've been in my life. I have been to 3 baseball games. 2 of them, no, 4. 3 major league, 1 minor.
Oh yeah.
2 out of those 3 were with you, and 1 I really liked. 1 was pretty good. The one I didn't go with you to, I did not appreciate. I didn't like it all. It was very hot. It was in the sun.
So was the first one we went to together in Texas? Was that the one that was so? Yeah, because that was hot as fuck.
Yeah, it was pretty hot.
The Cub game was cool.
That one where there was free food, right?
Yeah, we had free food at the Texas one.
So that made it bearable.
Yeah, it did. Definitely made it better. Hockey, I've gotten like last year, I got fully invested back into hockey. I used to love hockey back in the day because I'm a kid of like the Mighty Ducks. Like, you remember when the Mighty Ducks movies came out?
I love I did like that movie. I've watched that movie more than once.
That came out like 95, I think, and I like watched a shit ton of that. I had been going to Colorado with my dad, and I wanted to live in Colorado, and they just got their hockey team. And so I'm like, I'm fully invested in this hockey team from Colorado, and they won the Stanley Cup that year. So I was like, I fucking love hockey. But then like, so there's a strike thing that happened, and hockey stopped being on like TV. It was like on like, when it came back, it was on like, Lifetime Entertainment for Women, Channel 8. Like, it was like a channel nobody had.
Oh. What was the strike over?
It's same thing, like money and stuff like that. The players wanted more money from the owners, kind of thing, and
Oh, so the players went on strike.
yeah, it was a player strike, or it might have been a lockout. Lockouts and strikes are kind of the same thing, I think. But yeah, when they came back, it like really died out because they weren't on ESPN anymore, and they're just starting to kind of get rejuvenated. But yeah, last year I watched a shit ton of hockey, and I'm kind of back into it.
Interesting. Well, Shawn, so the story I have for you, it is about sports. It's also it's not professional sports in terms of like it's not a football story or a baseball story. This is a story about sports that have gone on for hundreds of years, Shawn. Shawn, I'm talking about the Olympics.
Oh,
Olympic
yes.
sports.
The Summer Games of Love.
That's right. That is right.
Are we going to be talking about like corruption and like passing around diseases in the Olympic? I don't know what they call it, like the village. You know, like they pass around condoms. So like they have Olympic Village. Yeah, so they have Olympic Village where all the athletes
they're just afraid that like everybody's in the the Olympic Village is more like the Olympic orgy.
It is. It's the orgy Olympics. Oh yeah, like they pass out.
So
condoms.
You're saying that once every 4 years at some random place in the world, there's like a huge orgy going on.
And you know what's funny about that is like these are people at, like peak physical condition. Like, well, besides
why have you not told me this information?
Besides like the badminton players, like the table tennis players, like there's probably some.
Well, see, that's what I'm saying. See, okay, now wait. Okay, consider this. All right. Like Olympic sports, like, yes, you're like, oh, top, peak physical condition. And then you look at, obviously you look at like you and I and you're like, well, how are we going to get in to the greatest orgy on earth? Right.
Good point. Okay. Yeah. I like where you're going. I like the javelin you're throwing here. All we have
to do is we just have to pretend to be athletes from some sport that allows people like us to compete, like curling. We could do curling. We could pass ourselves off as curling athletes.
They did like washers or bags. If they got that in the Olympics, dude, we could totally dominate on that.
Yeah,
and it would be like, hey, we're Olympic gold medalists because they never ask in what, and because I mean
exactly, like it's not like we can't like walk in there and be like, oh yeah, I'm a pole vaulter. And my buddy here does shot put.
Yeah,
be like his arms don't look big enough for shot put.
I'm like, hey,
yeah. And they're like, and then I'm like, well, it's true, but hey,
like, well, pick up that can of beans. I'm like, heard you grunt. I'm like, well, it's because I was throwing shot put all day. I'm tired.
Yeah.
And she's like,
that was my non-shot put arm.
But she's like, well, then how are you going to run a marathon on me? I'm going over to the sprinters. I'm like, oh. Richard, we can't even get laid in the most athletic orgy in the world.
We're gonna get there.
Oh,
see, now it's a dream. Okay, so tell me about this. So they're passing around. So like you're telling me the Olympic Village is some random spot in the world. Is it the Summer Olympics or the Winter Olympics that this happens?
I always hear Summer Olympics, but I'm imagining Winter Olympics is just the same. And Winter Olympics,
I would think that the Winter Olympics would be worse because it's cold.
Well, yeah,
and so everybody wants to stay inside
because we just wear less layers, and because they don't know if you're ugly or not, like if you're fat and overweight, because you're wearing layers.
That's a good point.
And so it's like because it's the biggest. It's like a college frat party or a college sorority party. Like everybody's kind of like tossing back, drinks and like, oh my god.
And like if I'm in Sweden and I'm wearing a parka, you don't know what I look like.
So you look cute. I'm like, yeah. She's like, are you sexy under that big old fur polar bear coat? Like, yeah.
Yeah.
And then she takes
and they're
it
like,
off.
What are you gold medalists in? And then I say curling, and they're like, what's that? And then I'm like, I don't remember, but you're cute.
And I'm not fat. We should totally go and have some cocoa. Is there vodka in that cocoa? Are we in Russia right now? No, we're in Salt Lake City. Well, Salt Lake City, the Kremlin,
we're in Rome.
Same thing.
We're not in Rome. We're in Salt Lake City.
This is, you don't have to be smart to be in curling, do you? Hey, there's no reason to be rude.
But no.
Yeah, not really. You just have to be able to sweep really, really fast.
Yeah. And then we'll run a marathon.
Let's just say
orgy marathon.
You can move your hands really quick, like can you curl my vagina?
I mean, isn't curling? That's just where like you have the little. You just basically it's like you're sweeping the ice, right? You have the little brush, and you're like brush.
Yeah, you got to time it just right because you got to make it smooth because like you doing that, there's friction and smooths it out so it'll move faster or slower. It's like one brush like does the ice one way to make it smooth to go quicker and the other makes it slow down. But I mean, it's basically just like team shuffleboard on ice is all it is.
Yeah.
Because I think the dudes that won it from the US, like last Olympics, they were just like dudes from a bar getting drunk.
That's what I'm saying.
Watching all their buddies who, made it like college basketball, getting some ladies at the bar, like, we should get in the Olympics. Like, yeah, we should do curling. And they did it. But they're
like, what's that?
But yeah, I've always heard that they always pass around tons of condoms at that thing just because it's a one big like Olympic marathon bone fest.
That's crazy.
I mean, they put in all that time and they don't get paid. I mean, they got to get, if you're not getting paid, you got to get laid.
Okay. So you know what? I'm looking at these curling athletes. I could totally, I think I could totally match that. I feel like I match that physique.
I imagine we go out to the lake this weekend and like we step on it and fall in and be like, we're terrible curlers. Our curl sank.
Where's my brush?
It's really hard to do this in the summertime. How do you train?
Sploosh. The weight just sinks.
This is a dumb sport.
Silver for us. That's all I'm saying.
Well,
okay,
I mean,
so Shawn,
even if you get silver, you're getting a little bit of the
what?
I don't know anything sexually rhymes with silver.
Sliver.
That sounds dirty.
That was the point. Anyway, so you said marathon, which is a good segue, even though you said it like 5 minutes ago. That's what I'm using. We're segueing because we're going to talk about the 1904 Olympics.
All right. So this was 115 years ago, Richard.
It was 115 years ago. In 1904, what city do you think had the Olympics in 1904?
Is that when they started back up? Was it Rome or Greece?
It was not Rome or Greece. It was in 1904. The Olympics were hosted in St. Louis.
Really? I didn't know that.
As part of the World's Fair. It was America's first Olympics. The first time America ever hosted the Olympics.
Huh.
Was in 1904 in St. Louis.
Okay.
So they had the World's Fair. Yeah, so in 1904 they had the World's Fair, which, I don't even know if they still do a World's Fair. I don't think they do. I was just
going to look that up because I think the last one they did was in like the 70s when like the Expos, there used to be a baseball team called the Expos in Montreal.
And there's always that guy that's like, welcome to the world of tomorrow. They always have that at the World's Fair, right?
They have like deep fried Twinkies at the World's Fair?
I don't know.
No, they still have the World's Fair, Richard.
They really? Where is it?
So in 2020, it's going to be in Dubai. And in 2023, it's going to be in Buenos Aires. And then 2025, it's going to be in Osaka.
These are all way too far places that I can't go to.
Huh. Crazy.
You can go to a World's Fair, Shawn. I wouldn't go to Dubai, though, because that's in the middle of the desert. And it is very, very hot.
Yeah, so, I mean, just so if people are curious, so 67, they had it in Montreal. 68, they had it in San Antonio. They had it in Osaka in 70.
See, I could have gone to San Antonio.
They had it in Vancouver. They had it in 93, then they skipped 5. It seems like they do it pretty randomly because they stopped. They had it in Lisbon in 98.
That's in Australia, right?
Ah, Australia. Good day, mate. Let's put another shrimp on the barbie.
And that's why Shawn wouldn't be allowed to buy a ticket.
But then they didn't do it again until 2010, and they had it in Shanghai.
Oh.
Interesting. But yeah,
there you go, Shawn.
Be in Dubai.
There, now you learned. So now you can go buy yourself a ticket for the World's Fair. But in 1904, the World's Fair was in St. Louis. And as part of the World's Fair, for the first time in American history, America hosted the Olympics.
Nice. I think they've only hosted it twice since then in L.A. and Atlanta.
Yeah, I was gonna say I remember Atlanta.
Maybe Atlanta's done
LA.
it twice.
So held 1904 in St. Louis, the games were tied to that year's World's Fair, which celebrated the centennial of the Louisiana Purchase. So 100 years prior to that, in 1804, was the Louisiana Purchase.
Okay.
While advancing, as did all such turn-of-the-century expositions, the notion of American imperialism. Although there were moments of surprising and genuine triumph, for example, gymnast George Iser earned 6 medals, including 3 gold medals, despite the fact he had a wooden leg.
What? Oh, I don't know if they let you do that anymore.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because there's a sprinter who's he's got double amputees on his legs, but he's got these running legs that have like springs.
Oh, so they're saying like that's unfair?
Yeah, it's like, oh, you got like some rabbit legs, so you're disqualified. You're DQ'd, sir. Special Olympics for you.
I don't know how I feel about that.
I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, I guess I could kind of see it from both sides, but I don't know. I feel like if the Olympic Committee would establish like a standard and say, okay, if you want to, run, then you have to use these legs.
You got to run like Lieutenant Dan. You ain't got no legs, Lieutenant Dan.
Yes, I know that. So this guy won 6 medals, 3 gold medals, despite a wooden leg. Guy had a wooden leg, won 6 medals in the 1904 Olympics. Damn. So even though all that went on, Shawn, the games were largely overshadowed by the fair, which offered its own roster of sporting events, including the controversial Anthropology Days, in which a group of quote-unquote savages recruited from the fair's international villages competed in a variety of athletic feats. Among them was a grease pole climb, ethnic dancing, and mudslinging for the amusement of Caucasian spectators.
Oh, Richard, are we going to get a little racist in this?
I think we just did, but that's okay. You know why? This is not what we're talking about.
Okay, good.
No, we're good. A French historian and founder of the International Olympic Committee, his name was Pierre de Coubertin, took disapproving note of the spectacle and made a prescient observation. He said, as for that outrageous charade, it would of course lose its appeal when black men, red men, and yellow men learn to run, jump, and throw and leave the white men behind them. But it's fine, because we're not talking about the ethnic dancing that happened at Anthropology Days at the World's Fair. We're going to talk about the Olympic signal event, which was the marathon.
Oh, man. So that's what, 23 miles? 23.6
I have no earthly idea.
It's a shit ton. Like, people don't... I've heard that when you train for a marathon, you actually don't run a marathon until the day you run a marathon.
Really?
Like you run like half marathons, I think. And I don't know what the max they say you're supposed to get up to, but it's not the full marathon. Because it's... Honestly, Richard, like, it is not... The human body is not meant to run that far that long. Like,
I wouldn't think so.
I know,
I feel like we're designed, like, when it comes to running, it's only supposed to happen when there's danger.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, there's a predator, or hey, that bag's not mine, officer. Like, that's when we're supposed to run. And then once we've escaped the danger, then the running ceases to be.
I have heard somewhere that, like, we can run longer distance than most animals, but we can't run as fast for a short distance. So, like, it's an evolution thing where, like, we're chasing, like, a deer, And the deer's like, oh shit, that thing's trying to eat me, and it runs. And like it sprints really far away. And it's like, okay, whew. And then all of a sudden, here comes, dippity doo dah human going, whew, okay, keep going. Just keep running. Just keep running. The deer's like, holy shit, it's coming after me. Takes off sprinting, gets, a little ways away. It's like, okay, couldn't get as far, but whew, it's gone. Here it comes. Whew, okay, keep running, keep running, keep running.
Oh, legs up, legs up.
Yeah, so the human can kind of keep going for a longer distance, but the deer can faster and shorter distance, but gets tired sooner. So it gets so far away, it's like, oh God, just kill me, human. And the human gets up to like, whew, oh, check the pulse. Ooh, 12,000 steps. Whack, 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 whack. All right, let's take this back home and make some deer sausage.
Let me check my Fitbit. Now I'm imagining like an early caveman with a Fitbit.
It's on a rock.
Before he like hits a mammoth.
Oh,
yeah.
My eye rock has been stoned. I bricked it.
Oh, well, and he rips that eye rock off his wrist and throws it at the mammoth's head and kills it. So,
but yeah,
the
not
Olympic
supposed to run that far. Humans aren't
I have no. So, yeah, I think you're right. And I have no idea if you are right, but that sounds right to me. I think I remember a long time ago somebody said it was like 23 miles. I couldn't run 23 miles. No way.
Could you even like run 23 miles in a day?
I don't know, maybe, because that's like what, a little over. It's under 2 miles an hour. So it's about like one.
Like a decent walking pace. I think you can get a mile in about 20 minutes. So you could probably like stopping for breaks and stuff get about 2 miles. So I mean, yeah, it'd take you like a full 24 hours probably at that pace without stopping.
Yeah. So you just
12 hours
power walk.
Yeah, I think so. Oof, but the chafing, that's where it gets you.
Yeah. See, they always have those like water stations where they throw water on themselves. I feel like they should have a powder station where somebody just has like a sock full of cornstarch that just
throws
gives
it all
you
over
a quick,
taint.
a quick like tap in the nethers.
And you know what they do, Richard, when they're doing that? Like if you watch like the serious runners, they don't stop for bathroom breaks. Number 1 or number 2.
So what do?
They just do like what NASCAR racers do. They just let it go.
Really?
Yeah, there's pictures of like
marathon
runners who just like release their bowels.
Nope, can't do it. Yeah. Nope, I'm out. I'm out.
So you and I are like, whew, we're like power walking, go whew, 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 and then like, oh, who let their horse on the? That's not horse poo, Shawn. Oh, whew. Just keep walking. Just keep walking.
Nope, I'd be done. That's where I'm done. I'd be like, it's on my shoe. Well, now I have to not do this, not finish this marathon, and burn my shoes.
Yep. All right, guys. Salem Witch Trial Part 2. I'm a witch. Burn me.
Yep. Fuck all that.
Yep, but that's what they do.
I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I don't appreciate anything you just said, and I reject it on principle. I feel like you should apologize.
I should apologize. I don't run marathons just for that fact. Like, all right, I got to run for 7 hours. What happens if I have to pee? You just go. Then you think about it, like, wait, what if I have to do the number 2? You just go. Nope. Imagine the chafing off that.
Keep your fucking medals.
Yep. Listen, I'll just buy the 23.6 sticker and stick it on, and people ask, I'm like, yeah, totally did. Totally ran that.
I did it. It was great. I'll just steal somebody's number at the end of the race and be like, whoo, you know what? I didn't even poop myself. Anybody else? Can anybody else say that?
I held it. I'm a true marathon runner. Is there anything more facetious though than the people that put those like 13-point like half marathon stickers or full marathon stickers on the back of their vehicles? Like congratulations, Tina. You ran a marathon.
Yeah.
Why don't you cure cancer, you bitch?
Yeah. Rub it in.
Yeah.
The marathon was conceived to honor the classical heritage of Greece and underscore the connection between ancient and modern. But from the start of the 1904 marathon was less showstopper and more sideshow. A freakish spectacle that seemed more in keeping with the carnival atmosphere of the fair than the reverential mood of the games.
Well, I mean, Richard, it is St. Louis.
The outcome was so scandalous that the event was nearly abolished for good.
Really? In 1904, it was scandalous?
Yes, it was, Shawn. And I'm gonna explain to you why. Because holy God, this thing was, you know what? You were just talking about marathon runners making poops in their pants. This thing was a literal shit show.
Well, this is for you telling us that, like, across the street, they have this, like, extremely racist event going on. They're like, listen, whatever you're going to tell us, like, that was almost so bad we had to cancel it. We should have just went right over across there to see all that stuff.
They should have. But, like, you know what? After seeing this, like, like a little racism doesn't seem that terrible.
Oh,
even though it was terrible.
This might be a rated R episode.
A few of the runners were recognized marathoners who had either won or placed in the Boston Marathon or had placed in previous Olympic marathons. But the majority of the field was composed of middle distance runners and assorted oddities. Americans Sam Malore, A.L. Newton, John Lorden, Michael Spring, and Thomas Hicks, all experienced marathoners, were among the favorites. Another American, Fred Lors, did all his training at night because he had a day job as a bricklayer and earned his spot in the Olympics by placing in a special 5-mile race sponsored by the Amateur Athletic Union. Oh, I should note that this article is something I pulled from the Smithsonian, but I also have another article here by Rokas Laurenvinkus. So just throwing that out.
Citing our sources as you do.
Exactly. Among the leading oddities were 10 Greeks who had never run a marathon ever.
They're like,
and they're now
sitting there smoking, doing shots. Like, all right, so what's this marathon thing?
So what, are we like throwing rocks, or am I climbing up a ladder or something? I'm like, no, you're running involved? For 23 miles.
Wait, what's that convert to kilometers? You fucking Americans are weird.
Fucking English imperialist bastards.
Had everything shifted at that point? Did they shift to kilometers in the teens?
Oh, fuck, I don't remember. It seemed like there was like 12 minutes in the history of the United States that we went to the metric system, and then we went back.
You know why? The French.
Yeah.
So we were like, the British were like, we're going to shift to this thing that's a little bit more easier. It's base 10. You know, everything's off tens. And we're like, fuck you, we just fought a war over tea. We're going to stick with the French.
Yeah.
And the French later like, oh, we switched to the metric system.
Which is funny because isn't it referred to as the English imperial system? You would think that they'd be like, fuck English imperials.
We want to still be in pounds and stone. I wish we still measure things in stones.
Yeah, that'd be nice. I always like 10 stone is 100 kilos, right?
Oh, I don't know. I know there's a wrestler in the new AEW who's from Britain, and whenever they announce his weight, it's like 12 stones. And I'm like, that's kind of cool.
There were 10 Greeks who had never run a marathon, 2 men of the Suana tribe of South Africa who were in St. Louis as part of the South African World's Fair exhibit and who arrived at the starting line barefoot. So you got 2 guys barefoot. You got 10 guys who would never run a marathon, maybe even at all, ever. Be like, so it's like walking but faster, right?
Has anybody done the math yet? How far is 23.6 miles? Is that like 12 kilometers?
There was a Cuban national and former mailman named Felix Carbonell who raised money to come to the States by demonstrating his running prowess throughout Cuba. Once trekking the length of the island, upon his arrival in New Orleans, he lost all his money on a dice game and had to walk and hitchhike to the marathon.
Man, the early 1900s were awesome.
Right?
You know what?
This dude's like, I want to go to America so fucking bad. And he walks the whole length of the country to like raise money for himself. He's like Johnny Appleseed. He's like doing like a GoFundMe on foot.
Well, think about this. He shows up, he's walked from New Orleans to St. Louis, which is like thousands of miles, maybe, at least hundreds of miles. And he shows up, he's probably tired. Like, he's like, wait, how far do we have to go? 23.6 miles? Cakewalk.
But like he does this GoFundMe to go across the country. They give him the money. He gets the money. And then as soon as he goes 90 miles across the Caribbean, lands in New Orleans, and he's like, all right, I did all my dream is realized. And now I'm finally going to run in the gambling dice game. Bet it all on black. Oh, shit.
All right, rolls dice. Snake eyes. What's that mean? Did I win? No. Wait, what's it mean when I bet on black? Basically, you just gave us our money. There's no black in this game.
This is dice. This isn't roulette. What's roulette? I tell you, but you're out of money. So this guy from Cuba, he was a mailman. He was a mailman. Tried to raise money, got to New Orleans, lost all his money in a dice game, and then walked and hitchhiked from New Orleans to St. Louis.
I mean, you imagine now, compete. Like you try to hitchhike from New Orleans to St. Louis. If you even made it, like that would be an experience in itself. But realistically, what's going to happen? You're going to end up as a dead body on the side of the road.
Yeah. Yep. You're going to be in a shallow grave with some leaves.
And you know what?
At 5 feet tall. Yeah. At 5 feet tall, he presented a slight but striking figure at the starting line. Attired in a white long-sleeve shirt, dark pants, a beret, and a pair of street shoes. One fellow Olympian took pity, found a pair of scissors, and cut the man's trousers at the knee. So this guy shows up in pants, like a long sleeve shirt. There's a picture of him that I'm looking at right now. He's got pants, like long pants. Like he's wearing like khakis, basically. He's going to run this marathon in khakis.
I mean, this was the time where men wore like these like full body swimsuits. Like that doesn't seem too extreme to me.
Yeah.
Like they wore the whole like cap to cover your hair. Back when like the water was probably the cleanest it's ever been, too.
Yeah, that's true. On August 30th, at precisely 3:03 p.m., the president of the Louisiana Purchase Exposition Company fired the starting pistol and the men were off. The heat and humidity soared into the 90s.
Ooh, that's hot.
Fuck yeah, it's hot. Heat and humidity. So it's like fucking running through a swamp. This guy's like, this is like New Orleans.
I mean, I've been to St. Louis on some of those days, and St. Louis has like a very like gross heat to it.
Yeah, it does. And the 24.85 mile course, which one fair official called the most difficult a human being was ever asked to run over.
Nice.
Wound across roads and inches deep in dust.
Oh, so like you're all humid, like sweaty and gross. You're running through the dirt sticking to you.
Yeah,
like,
you're probably basically they're all running along like dirt roads,
clogging your pores and probably making you even more hot.
There were 7 hills varying from 100 to 300 feet high. some with brutally long ascents. In many places, cracked stone was strewn across the roadway, creating perilous footing, and the men had to constantly dodge crosstown traffic.
What is that, Herb? I think it's the Olympics. Thump, thump. Thump, thump.
Who was that? I think that was second place. Not anymore, Delilah. The men had to constantly dodge crosstown traffic, delivery wagons, railroad trains, trolley cars, and people walking their dogs.
Nice.
So apparently also there were only 2 places where the athletes could secure fresh water. From a water tower at 6 miles and a roadside well at 12 miles.
So at like maybe a fourth and the halfway point, then nothing for the rest of the journey.
Exactly. After that, no water. So you get water at the 6 mile mark and you get water at the 12 mile mark, and that's it. James Sullivan, the chief organizer of the games, wanted to minimize fluid intake to test the limits and effects of purposeful dehydration.
And this was a time, Richard, where people didn't believe in germs.
So he's like, so this guy's, he wants to study the effects of dehydration on the body. And he's like, well, what better place to do it?
Yeah, what better way than with amateur athletes? I mean, if they die, they're amateurs. We don't have to pay them any money.
Cars carrying coaches and physicians monitored alongside the road, alongside the runners, kicking the dust up and launching coughing spells.
Nice.
Because like they're saying like these roads are like dusty roads.
Well, I don't know if I'm sure there was a few paved roads back then, but there weren't that many. I mean, most of it was like cobblestone or brick. I mean, like even the cars back then were the ones you had to wind up.
So the starting gun goes off. Fred Lors led the 32 starters from the gun, but by the first mile, Thomas Hicks had edged ahead. William Garcia of California became the first fatality of an Olympic marathon when he collapsed on the side of the road and was hospitalized with hemorrhaging. The dust had coated his esophagus and ripped his stomach lining. That's how much dust we're talking about. He had gone unaided for an hour. Had he gone unaided an hour longer, he might have bled to death. John Lorden suffered a bout of vomiting and gave up. So these are all the favorites, right? These are the guys that had run marathons before, and they're like, "Oh, I fucking got this." They're a mile into it, and like one of them had to be hospitalized because he's bleeding internally. Another one's throwing up, and it's like, you know what? Fuck this. Len Tao, one of the South African participants, was chased a mile off course by wild dogs.
This is more like the first Survivor Marathon, St. Louis.
Tell me you don't just imagine the Benny Hill music on like a constant loop.
Well, I mean, kind of like I imagine him in first place running, and the dogs chase him in second place. Is like, "Fuck you, buddy!" And then he gets the dust kicked in his face.
I don't have to outrun the dogs. Felix Carvajal trotted along in his cumbersome shoes and his billowing shirt, making good time, even though he paused to chat with spectators in broken English. Felix was the mailman that lost all his money.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
He's like, "Hey, you guys know any good gambling halls?" Double or nothing. I win this race.
You have $5. On one occasion, he stopped at a car, saw that its occupants were eating peaches, and asked for one. Being refused, he playfully snatched 2 and ate them as he ran. A bit further along the course, he stopped at an orchard and snacked on some apples.
This sounds more like a stroll than a marathon.
Right. But, Sean, Karma has it in for Felix.
Oh, is this the
Because
rabbit and the hare and the turtle story?
Apparently, the apples turned out to be rotten. Suffering from stomach cramps, he laid down and took a nap.
Was he running? He's like, oh, I can't release my bowels while I'm running. That'd be embarrassing.
I hit a toilet. And then he fell asleep. So now we're at Sam Malore. So Sam Malore, who is now in the lead, also experienced severe cramping. He slowed down to a walk and eventually stopped. At the 9-mile mark, cramps also plagued Lors, who decided to hitch a ride in one of the accompanying automobiles.
I'm making great time.
Waving at spectators and fellow runners as he passed.
Woo, working up a sweat, boys.
Yeah. So you know what? Like, either the runners are pissed and like, fuck, I should have thought of that. Taxi!
I would have, but those cars, that's Satan's transportation.
So Hicks, one of the early American favorites, came under the care of a 2-man support crew at the 10-mile mark. He begged them for a drink, but they refused, instead sponging out his mouth with warm distilled water. You know, because of all the dust.
Oh, yeah. So he did get water?
No, they didn't give him water. They just took a sponge
I gotcha.
to the inside of his mouth with warm water. 7 miles from the finish, his handlers fed him a concoction of strychnine and egg whites.
Well, that's not going to make your tummy hurt at all.
This is the first recorded instance of drug use in the modern Olympics. Strychnine in small doses was commonly used as a stimulant.
You know, that's interesting because the Tour de France, like in the 40s and 50s, they would smoke cigarettes for the stimulant. So you'd see them in spots where they're running down hills, the teams, they would smoke the cigarettes to get the nicotine burst.
Oh, okay. So strychnine in small doses was commonly used as a stimulant, and at the time, there were no rules about performance-enhancing drugs. Hicks' team also carried a flask of French brandy, but decided to withhold it until they could gauge the runner's condition.
You know,
So at the 10-mile mark, or no, it's 17. So this is at the 12 no, wait. The 10-mile mark or something like that. Fuck, I can't do math.
Well,
they feed him strychnine and egg whites.
I was just going to say,
I guess they're giving it to him in a shot glass, or fuck if I know.
Well, what I was going to say is, I wonder if you were blitzed out of your mind, if you'd run a lot better, if you'd get further on that run.
I don't know. I've tried to run when I was drunk, and I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all.
I don't know if I've ever ran when I was drunk.
I didn't appreciate it. Meanwhile, Lors, who had recovered from his cramps, emerged from his 11-mile ride in the automobile. So at some point, whatever point he jumped in the car, he was in the car for 11 miles.
So basically half the race.
Yes. One of Hicks's handlers saw him and ordered him off the course, but Lors kept running and finished with a time of just under 3 hours.
We expecting those cars didn't go too fast. I mean, they went, maybe 10 miles an hour?
That sounds about right, yeah. The crowd roared and began chanting, "An American won!" Alice Roosevelt, who was the 20-year-old daughter of President Theodore Roosevelt, placed a wreath upon Lors' head and was just about to lower the gold medal around his neck when one witness reported, someone called an indignant halt to the proceedings with a charge that Lors was an imposter. The cheers turned to boos. Lors smiled and claimed he had never intended to accept the honor. He only finished for the sake of a joke. So he's about to get the medal, and somebody's like, "Wait a minute, were you in a car for half of this?"
Could you imagine that happening today? Like,
and then the guy's like, "Well,
Phelps.
I mean, I was never really. I mean, like, this was just like a joke. Like,
a goof.
Once you put the medal on me, like, I was totally gonna take it off."
It'd be like Phelps, like he's getting on the stand and he's won all those races because he's had flippers on the whole time. He's like, well, I mean, like, I wasn't seriously going to accept this 20th medal. It just happened.
Yeah, I mean, like once you put it on me, I was gonna be like, wait, hang
gotcha.
On.
Hey, I got this debt in New Orleans. Could you float me a few bucks?
I get back to Cuba. Do you have $5 and a boat? So this is all going on with Lors. This is like at the finish line, like all this is going on. So Hicks, with the strychnine and egg whites coursing through his blood,
he comes running down the home stretch, all methed out.
He had grown ashen and limp. When he heard that Lors had been disqualified, he picked up and forced his legs into a trot. His trainers gave him another dose of strychnine and egg whites, this time with some brandy to wash it down.
I feel like this ends up with him puking on the first daughter of the president.
They fetched warm water and soaked his body and head. After bathing, he appeared to revive and quickened his pace. Over the last 2 miles of the road, wrote race official Charles Lucas, Hicks was running mechanically like a well-oiled piece of machinery. His eyes dull, lusterless, the ashen color of his face and skin had deepened. His arms appeared as weights well tied down. He could scarcely lift his legs while his knees were almost stiff. This guy's fucked up, Shawn. Yeah. They've been giving this guy strychnine and egg whites, and now they decided to wash it down with brandy. Yeah.
He shows up, he gets the wreath. He's like, hey, you guys got any more of that strychnine and egg whites? So fucked up right now.
So at this point, Shawn, he began hallucinating.
Oh, he just began? I'm sure he already been doing that for like the last 10 miles.
He believed that the finish line was still 20 miles away. In the last mile, he begged for something to eat. Then he begged to lie down. He was given more brandy, but refused tea. He swallowed 2 more egg whites, walked up the first of the last 2 hills, then jogged down on the incline. Swinging into the stadium, he tried to run, but was reduced to a graceless shuffle. His trainers carried him over the line, holding him aloft while his feet moved back and forth, and he was declared the winner.
So you see him run, get picked up. He's just got his legs running like when you pick up a toddler. Like, wee! 20 more miles, boys! Wee!
Guess I did it! Who's grabbing me? Oh, God, it's the flying monkeys. It took 4 doctors and 1 hour for Hicks to feel well enough just to leave the grounds. He had lost 8 pounds during the course of the race.
Damn.
So, he totally evacuated himself.
And people picked him up too. Like, what's so squishy? What smells like egg whites? Those were probably raw egg whites too.
Yeah, in 90-degree heat. Yeah,
that makes my stomach turn. Like, you imagine that swishing around in there with that strychnine.
Oh my God, dude, I'm thinking about it, and it's making my stomach churn.
Because like, have you ever been out in the heat? Like, you go and you eat something.
Because it's not like it's 1904. It's not like they're walking around with like a cooler packed with ice.
Yeah. Yeah. Good point. Those egg whites.
That's what I'm saying.
Those have been warm, like from the egg, like the chicken's butt too. Oh God, I think I just threw up a little bit. Because you think about like you're running and even today you go out, you get something to eat, and you go out and you're working outside when it's 90 degrees. You eat this big meal, and you're like, fuck, I forgot, I got to mow the lawn. I don't know about you, but like if I mow for like 20 minutes, I feel like, oh God, like everything's coming out all at once.
Yeah.
Now do that. You've got these egg whites jiggling in your belly, and they're like, oh, wait, here, let's add some brandy on top of that. That's just like a slip and slide all the way out.
Hicks said at the end of the race, he said, "Never in my life have I run such a touch course. The terrific hills simply tear a man to pieces."
And the egg white in strychnine tears a man's ass in pieces.
Jesus Christ, man.
You know what's funny is this was the first marathon. Like the marathon, I think in the Olympics used to be like a big event like that. You'd run into the stadium and you'd be like, you know, of course back then they ran naked because, you know, that's just what they did in Greece. You show up and they're like, this is the winner of the Great Athens Marathon. And then America's very first, you know, run, it's like, hey, why don't you try some egg whites and brandy?
And then they're like, what about water? And they're like, no, we're running a little experiment.
Yeah.
That's the other thing is they didn't tell them about the experiment.
Well, I mean, that would dilute the experiment.
Yeah, of course. So the organizers thought it would be better to hold the marathon during the afternoon instead of the morning.
Because it'd be hotter.
Mainly because it'd be hotter. This meant that the athletes had to run in temperatures over 86 degrees Fahrenheit with a relative humidity of about the same. So Shawn, I don't know, like, okay, so like you and I live in the Midwest, I would say about the same weather that it was on like Friday.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I see what you're saying. Where it's one of those like nowadays you go out and you're like, man, it's fucking hot, but you go inside and you're fine. But if you had to run 23 miles in that, like, nope, fuck that. Like you can mow your lawn, you could be outside in like maybe an hour, but definitely not worth running in.
Olympic chronicler Charles Lucas noted that the visiting athletes were not accustomed to the water, and as a consequence, many suffered from intestinal disorders.
Was the water bad back then?
I don't know. I'm not sure. They don't really dive into it about like
was that
the
another
state of the water.
It's like, hey, we're trying this new treatment experiment. We want to see how it works on you guys.
People found American runner William Garcia lying on the road in the middle of the track, suffering severe internal injuries from breathing the dust.
Well, that's the thing we need to find out. How many of the people in this race survived? Like, did half of them die?
That's a good point. No, it doesn't. I know it didn't say anything about anybody that had died. So, there was the guy. There were the people that got hospitalized. And there was the dude that there was a fair chance that if he was left, you know, for any longer, he would have bled out. So Loers collapsed from dehydration at the 9-mile mark. That's when he took the car. That's when he hopped in the car and then rode the rest of the way. But the car broke down at the 19-mile mark. That's why he didn't.
So he would have rode it all the way in.
Probably. Broke down around the 19-mile mark. Loers immediately jumped out and joined the race for the last 5 miles.
Reminds me of back in the day, like we'd be doing a high school basketball, like preseason training, and the kids that would run there's like a 3-mile run, and people would jump in like their friends' cars and do it. And I was always kind of like, why? Like, just cut, like, or don't even do it. Like, why get in a car to run the whole thing? Like, it doesn't count for anything.
Yeah, exactly. So to me, it seems like the real heroes are these two guys that dope this poor Thomas Hicks up with strychnine and egg whites, and at one point they were carrying him. I mean, they basically carried him across the finish line. You
know, the sad thing about that is, like, you know what? To win this race, what you need to do, egg whites and strychnine. We've got the 1904 champion from the toughest marathon race of all time.
So just to you know, put some context in there, strychnine is also found in rat poison.
Yeah, it's not good. I think it's in cigarettes too, isn't it?
Probably.
Yeah, that'd be weird to put that stuff in your body.
Yeah.
Voluntarily.
So Hicks at some point during the marathon, Hicks found out about Lors being disqualified because somebody was like, "Hey, wasn't that the guy that was in the car for like half the race?"
He's like, "Can I have a do-over? Like, just put me back at mile 11. I'll make it up." Early days, Richard.
So,
like this is like the first time to try to figure out like how to make Gatorade. This is Louis Aid, and it didn't work out very well.
Are you insinuating that there's a possibility that there's strychnine in Gatorade?
No, but
is that why everybody sweats different colors?
Yeah, probably.
Is that's from the hallucinations and the strychnine?
Yep. I mean, have you ever drinking Gatorade and like you become a like superior athlete? It's all because of the LSD they put in it. Like 40 years from now, they're going to talk about that. Michael Jordan, Richard, he's never won an NBA championship in his life.
The whole time he's just been fucked up on rat poison.
He's just sitting there. He's like, "Wanna be like Mike? Whoa, like Mike. I wanna be like Mike."
Oh, interesting note. Hicks and Lors would compete against each other again at the Boston Marathon in the following year.
Okay.
Lors finished the marathon in 2 hours, 38 minutes, and 25 seconds.
Was it legit?
And that one he actually ran without a car. No car in that one.
The other one took him like 3 hours in a car.
Well, I think it just said under 3 hours.
I gotcha. Well, of course, like that was like a non-traditional like marathon course too. It sounds like. It sounds like they made it like
he finished in a time of just under 3 hours.
What it sounds like is like the day of the race. The reason they had it in the afternoon is because the dude that was supposed to draw out and prepare the track didn't do it. So he spent the whole morning like tracking it out. Like, wait, isn't that like 100-foot hill? Yeah. Isn't that all like just dirt roads? Yeah. Wait, do you have them crossing a train track? Yeah.
No, whatever.
They'll be all right.
They better look.
Is this eggs?
Rat poison?
What do you think they're going to encounter out there? Wild dogs? Oh, Richard. Again, running, Olympics. I think what we learned from this episode, though, is that the Olympics is one big orgy. And I guarantee you these guys, when they got back to the Olympic Village with that belly full of egg whites, they're like, all right, who's ready to do this? Everybody's like, nope.
He's like, I'm down to fuck. And she's like, really? And then he's like, yeah, hold on a second. All right, I'm ready.
Well, Richard, as we're tidying up this Olympic-sized episode, what's some Richard's closing thoughts?
Man is not meant to run 23, 24 miles.
Or eat raw egg whites on 90-degree temperatures.
The Olympics may not necessarily be the best thing for humans. And apparently strychnine and egg whites in 90-degree heat will help you to win a marathon, provided that it's found out that the competition takes a car.
Well, and really to tidy it up, it's only cheating if you get caught. Yeah. It's a good lesson. All right. Well, let me run through a little bit of housekeeping. Visit our website, we're at languageofbros.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at languageofbro. Email us at bros@languageofbros.com. Like us on Facebook. Go out and get a little bit of LB merchandise at the T Public store by searching for Language of Bromance. If you want to throw a little bit of money in our Patreon drawer, you can always go to patreon.com. And we are part of the Olympic-sized podcast network, the Pod Bros Network. Yeah. Fueled on egg whites and strychnine. Yeah. Because we are stimulated. All right. Was there anything before I close her out? No. Nope. All right. Well, that's all the broads we have for this show. I'm Shawn. And I'm Richard. And remember, don't be a why. Be a why not. Why not. And Richard, except if someone offers you egg whites and strychnine, and they're like, it'll help you win the race. And then that's definitely, you should ask why. Yeah, why should I drink this? Never take strychnine and egg whites from a stranger. And never gamble once you come to America.